irrespective of what you're studying. Maybe you're in the sciences, the commercial, the arts, it doesn't matter. So long as you have the interest in this, you can just pick it up as a course at the university, in secondary schools, wherever, and then you learn this to equip you to better help people, in that particular category when you come out of school. I think it's a very good one. I think organizations, the government listening to us right now should borrow a leaf from this.
Exactly.
It's really go a long way to help. And I have to say this, in our workplaces, just because a person is challenged, with hearing, doesn't necessarily mean they can't be productive. All they need to do is get what you're trying to pass across. So once they understand you, they can execute whatever command or directive you're given as an organization. So we should help such people. And even a percentage of your employment quota can actually go to people like that. And yes, and I think it will help.
I think that's a call to the government to ensure that just as we're pushing for gender rights, we're pushing for a lot of other rights for people like the marginalized group in our society, we should also push for the deaf community as well, in terms of the hearing aids, advocacy for people, for the deaf communities. A quota of our working society should go to deaf community.
And then we have to use this opportunity to say thank you to everyone who is working on one aid or the other for people who are challenged when it comes to hearing, because the truth is this will make auditory aids are actually valued in this regard, because without them we wouldn't be able to get those people. First, when you talk about deafness, it's not actually total all the time. Exactly. Sometimes you visit the doctor and the doctor tells you, look, you have 30% deafness in one ear. That person can't hear, the way I would, where other people who don't have that would. But with hearing aid, they can do that. So I salute, and shout out to every innovator out there helping those who are challenged in one form or the other. It's Breakfast Fiesta right here. We're going to take a pause to bring in our first guest. Of course, we welcome you on behalf of the producer, Oluyole Salaudeen. Okay, and of course, behind the console, I've got Kenny. All right, Kenny behind the console. So we'll get into the first conversation right now. Don't go anywhere. Okay, welcome back. It's still Breakfast Fiesta right here on Oluyole 90.5 FM, and it's time to delve into our first conversation, and that is concerning childhood tuberculosis, courses and treatment. Childhood tuberculosis, courses and treatment. Of course, when we talk about tuberculosis, a whole lot of people might think, okay, it has to do with adults. So most of the time we don't associate this with children, and it's interesting to know that it can also affect children, and then they will be able to find out how exactly we can help them or prevent them from actually contracting this disease. Of course, we have our guest in the studio, is a health practitioner. That's Dr. Odedeji Muhammad Abiodun. Dr. Odedeji Muhammad Abiodun. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Good morning, sir.
It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Okay, so when we talk about childhood tuberculosis, what exactly are we talking about? How is this different from tuberculosis affecting adults?
Tuberculosis is a mycobacterium infection. So it's from the family Mycotuberculosis or So children, adults is the same thing. The same infection that affects both the children and the adults. The rate of how fast the adults or the children can contract it is what we can say is a bit different, because in children the immunity is not well developed. And when we say children, pediatrics, we say from day 1 of birth till age of 15. Those in medicine, that's what we classify as children. Anybody that is above 15 years will be classified as adults. So and again, we can break the pediatrics age group into children under 5. And there are a lot of infections that are predominantly affecting the children under 5 compared to those that are above 5 years. So in children that are younger than 5, the rate at which they can contract this infection is very, very high compared to especially when they are exposed. So although the kind of when we say tuberculosis, the mycobacterial infection that causes it, there are about 3 of them, but the commonest one is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. We have Mycobacterium bovis and we have Mycobacterium africanum. Those are the 3 organisms. But the commonest in our environment that causes tuberculosis is the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And the major parts of the body that this tuberculosis affects is the lungs. So the lungs is the primary site. Although it can affect different parts of the body like the brain, we can have tuberculous meningitis. It can affect the bone. It can affect the intestine, and it can affect muscle, but that one is not very common.
Okay.
So the commonest one is the
one affecting the lungs.
TB chest, that is the respiratory one.
Okay. And
then followed by the one that affects brain. We call it tuberculous meningitis. So that is why, you know, when we talk about infection, and the commonest presentation for this infection is, number 1 is high temperature. We call it fever.
Okay.
And that is one of the things I want to, or I wish to elaborate on. Because whenever anybody in our environment gets fever, the number 1 thing anybody wants to think of is malaria.
Sure.
Even when they come to hospital for consultation, you know, people will be telling you, I want to treat malaria. And you'll be like, why do you think you are having malaria, sir? And you'll say, I've been having temperature and I've been having headache and my mouth is bitter. So everybody is a doctor of malaria. But when there are no much patients to attend to, we take our time to explain to people that there are many causes of malaria, more than thousands of them, and tuberculosis is one of them. So your children or your child is having temperature, don't just conclude that it's malaria. All these viral infections like Ebola, COVID-19, all of them, they also present with malaria. If you have enteric fever, for instance, that's typhoid fever, it presents with malaria. If somebody is having meningitis...
You're saying together?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So malaria is not the only, what I'm trying to say is malaria is not the only cause of fever.
Okay.
So when somebody is having high temperature, the right thing to do is to go to the people that know, see a doctor. The doctor will recommend, we examine after asking you some questions. You know, doctors will ask a lot of questions.
Sure.
And some people, when they come to hospital, because they come with already prepared diagnosis, so when they throw it at you and you refuse to take it, they get angry. Some will say, that doctor is not patient. He doesn't want to hear. He know it's too much for him. But it's not like that. When you throw fever at me, as a doctor, I want to ask questions about what are the commonest causes of fever in our environment? I want to be sure that what I'm saying is what I'm saying, not just I want to just say, okay, malaria, go and use artemether. That is not it. The doctor can be liable if at the end of the day you treat malaria and the person dies, and after some time maybe they do postmortem and they find out that this person is actually died from meningitis.
Okay. Now, when you were mentioning the causal agents for tuberculosis,
the three causative agents.
You said something. That was when you called had something like bovis in it.
Yes, there is bovis.
I know when you say bovine, you're talking about cattle.
Cattle.
So, is there a relationship between animals? Is there a transfer from animals to animal to humans?
It's one of the commonest zoonotic disease in our environment.
Okay.
What I mean by zoonotic disease is infection that can transfer from animal to man. From animal to man or to human. So it's a zoonotic disease because you can contract it from animal, and it's very common these days. In fact, let me share one experience. I had an experience or a discussion with a friend who is a veterinary doctor. We both graduated from University of Ibadan.
Okay.
And he came to my office to just pay a visit, and he was talking. He's one of the doctors that works in Oluyole,
okay,
where the slaughter rams are, sorry, cows. And when he was giving the analysis, he said about 30% of the total number of cattle they slaughter in that place has tuberculosis.
Wow.
About 30%. So at this junction, I want to really appreciate our governor or the government of Oyo State of today for employing those people to monitor the people that kill cattle in those areas. Because immediately they kill those cattle, they examine the lungs, because that is the primary side, like I said earlier on, that the tuberculosis affects, because that place is well aerated, so they survive because of the air. So they love where there is enough air, oxygen to survive. So they will ask those people to, once they detect that there is tuberculosis in the lungs, the next thing is to take it from the people that sells cows, and they go and incinerate it or bury it. But he said something that, for those people, it's not easy to deal with them, because once they kill a cow and you ask them to go and throw away something that worth close to 150,000 naira in value, it's very difficult for them to do. Sometimes they will be begging them. Sometimes they will have killed some cows before they resume work, and they will have healed the lungs from them, so they won't be able to examine those ones. But anyone's, out of every fowl, especially the female cows, they are the ones that harbor this tuberculosis. So it's common in female ones than the male.
Okay. And
because the female cow is very cheap to purchase, because the person that is selling the female one, they've actually extracted the money, it has produced a lot of cows for them. So when they want to dispose, it used to come cheap compared to the male, the bull. So they want to make as much money. So, but the government has done us well by making the specialists, which are the veterinary doctors, to be there, and that is really doing us a lot of good. And at this juncture, I will advise the public that we should be careful when eating the intestine, or let's say the so-called assorted.
Okay, offals.
Yes, you should, if it's possible, let's try as much as possible to stay away. It's not something you want to eat all the time, because that is the area. In both animals and in human, tuberculosis affects the internal organs. We call them the viscous organs.
But then what do you say to people who say that, okay, once you boil it, the organisms die?
It will not die. They are very stubborn. It's like virus. You will not attain the temperature that will kill it. You will survive very high, even more than 1,000 degrees Celsius temperature.
Okay. Sorry, before you answer your question, because this just came to mind before we leave that. Now, you just spoke about liver, the offals and everything. I've heard a lot of mothers talk about the fact that when their babies were little, they would buy kidney, they would buy liver, and then they will chop it up.
Okay.
So is this a practice you would discourage?
We should discourage it totally. Why are we looking for kidney? What is inside kidney that we cannot get from other source? Iron. Or what are they trying to prove? There is nothing special. Apart from the iron, or which other thing is in there? It's not. The protein content is not very high, just like liver. When you are eating those things, in fact, they have more fat. And it's not even safe for, let's say, okay, children can still enjoy fat when they are young. But people like anyone that is above 40 years, or somebody that is even less than 40 years that already has weight, you are eating all those things, you are just adding problem to your life. Because they contain a lot of steroid, a lot of liver fat, and that can add to your cholesterol level, that can raise your cholesterol and cause a lot of problem like hypertension, diabetes.
Okay, Dr. Odedeji.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that children are very susceptible to tuberculosis.
Yes.
So how do they even come in contact with tuberculosis? If you're mentioning this cattle, how do children?
Okay, cattle is just one of the modes by which one can contract it. The commonest way by which somebody can contract it is having contact with already infected someone, because it is airborne.
So children can only get it if they're exposed to someone who already has it.
Yes, that is how to get it. That is the only way to get it. It's either someone, you have contact with somebody that is already having TB. That is TB that is very virulent. Because somebody can actually be tested positive for TB, but they are not symptomatic. So it has to be an infected person that is already symptomatic. Yes, someone that is already showing the sign. For example, some of us that works in the hospital environment, if we are tested for TB, the level will be very high because we are exposed in one way or the other. But because our immune system is very strong and we have been exposing to it gradually, not at once. So our body is building what we call herd immunity.
Okay.
That is, we are building a resistance over time. It's not something, it's like all this immunization. You know, immunization is giving somebody that particular infection at a low dose. For example, measles measles vaccine is actually a live vaccine that contains measles infection. But because you are giving it in a dose that cannot manifest in the system of that person, so the body sees it, and the body immune system, the innate immune system, will now build a soldier, let me use that word, that will be able to now resist any further exposure in the future. That is how it happens. So another factor that affects or that determines how fast somebody will contract tuberculosis is immune system. If the person is immunosuppressive, like somebody with HIV/AIDS,
even a child?
Yes, there are children that contract HIV from their mother. You understand? That is one of the commonest ways, apart from the blood transfusion, sharing of such objects. Majority of children, but this day is reduced because you can't come to my hospital now. You are tested positive, a pregnant woman. Definitely, your child will not get HIV when you are delivering that baby, because we will do everything in the pregnancy during the antenatal care to make sure your viral load has come down, and of course, the person will be on the antiretroviral medications. And immediately the child is born, there are certain things we do to make sure the child is not positive. So, but immunosuppression, there are some children that one way or the other they are positive. Under 5 children, children under 15 as well. So once they are immunosuppressed and they are exposed to little dose of tuberculosis, then they start manifesting the symptoms.
Okay, all right.
And another symptom,
I think we have a commercial break at the moment, so when we come back, we'll continue with the courses for children. Thank you.
ohun èlò tuntun kan ti wà fún sísè àwọn oúnjẹ aládùn. Ṣé lóòótọ́? Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, Tasty Cubes chicken flavour ni o, tí wọ́n ṣe pẹ̀lú àwọn èròjà àbáláyé láti sọ gbogbo oúnjẹ tá a ṣe ìdàjẹ́ pọ́nnu lá. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, Tasty Cubes chicken flavour á fàdùn ara máa ń da sóúnjẹ. Mo ti gba ti Tasty Cubes chicken flavour lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. Tó bá jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀, má jáfara o, sáré lọ ra Tasty Cubes chicken flavour tiẹ̀ lónìí láti máa jẹ̀gbádùn oúnjẹ àjẹpọ́nnu lá. Tasty Cubes chicken flavour ó ń fún wa lóúnjẹ tó gbádùn. Tasty Cubes chicken flavour ó wà lọ́lọ́gọ́rùn-ún gíráàmù, ọlọ́gọ́rùn-ún mẹ́rin gíráàmù àti ọlọ́gọ́rùn-ún mẹ́fà gíráàmù. Ó tún wà níyẹ̀ fún.
There is a new recipe to delicious tasty meals.
Really?
Oh yes, it's Tasty Cubes chicken flavor. Give every meal that finger-licking taste.
Oh yeah?
Yes, so Tasty Cubes chicken flavor brings out a fantastic taste in everyday meals.
Wow.
I love this Tasty Cubes chicken flavor already. It's surely whetting my appetite. In that case, what are you waiting for? Hurry now and go and buy your own Tasty Cubes chicken flavor to keep that finger-licking taste in your cooking.
Yes, now.
Tasty Cubes chicken flavor brings out the inviting flavor in your meal. Tasty Cubes chicken flavor comes in different pack sizes: 100 grams, 400 grams, and 600 grams. It is also available in powder form.
Wherever you are joining us, this is Breakfast Fiesta on Oluyole 98.5 FM, and we are in conversation with Dr. Odedeji Muhammad Abiodun, a health practitioner, discussing childhood tuberculosis courses and treatment. So you were talking about the courses, for children. So
Yes.
you were discussing HIV/AIDS or immunosuppressive situations. Please go ahead.
So I was talking about the risk factor, the factors that can increase the rate of at which somebody can contract tuberculosis. Like I said, we are exposed to it constantly as a medical practitioner, nurses, doctors, anybody that works, including the cleaners in the hospital. But I said with time, because of good immunity, you cannot manifest the symptoms. But if you are tested, your level, the mantle level will be very high. And that is one of the things. Before I forget, I will quickly say something about that. That is why mantle test is one of the tests that is commonly, is not one of the tests that is commonly done today. Because you can give false positive results. It will present as if the person is highly positive, but the person is not manifesting any symptoms. When they do chest x-ray, the person is fine. So another risk factor is somebody that is on cancer chemo. That is cancer chemotherapy. Cancer chemotherapy is cytotoxic drugs.
What does that mean?
Cytotoxic, the drugs that kill cells, body cells. Because cancer is when the cells in the body, when they have overgrown their size due to some exposure to certain agents that can lead to cancer. So, and you want to treat it, one of the ways to treat is to give chemotherapy. And we have children that are born with cancer.
Wow.
Yes, we have congenital cancers in children, like the cancers of the kidney. We call it nephroblastoma. It can be cancer of the muscle, the skeletal muscle. We call it, there are different types of cancers like that. So I'm trying to say those examples of cancers in children so that people will not wonder what do you mean by cancer in children. They are in usage. There is a word for them in children pediatrics oncology department. So we have them, plenty of them. So children can be on chemotherapy, and once they are on chemotherapy, they become immunosuppressive. So any contact with anybody with any infective or contagious agent, the rate at which they will contract it has increased more than 100% compared to somebody that is not on chemotherapy, the person that is not immunosuppressive. Another factor that can reduce the immune system is when somebody is malnutrited. Yes, you are not eating good food, no balanced diet. All you do every day is eating amala ewedu in the morning, afternoon, night. And that is how the cycle continue for many years. So those children, they present with what we call kwashiorkor. So when you see a child that present like that, they are automatically, you can just presume they are automatically immunosuppressive. And when they are exposed to tuberculosis, somebody that have tuberculosis, whether adults or another child that have that condition, it has increased the rate at which they can contract the infection. That's another one. Another risk factor is prolonged use of steroid.
Steroids?
Yes, prolonged use of steroid. When somebody has been on high dose steroid for some months, the immune system goes down.
Let's break this down, because for those who are listening to us, steroids, what are you talking about?
There are some group of medications that are called steroid. Example that is very commonly used in our environment, for those that know little about medicine, is hydrocortisone and prednisolone.
Okay. These
drugs, they are used for when the body is hypersensitive. There are some hypersensitive conditions, like for example now we have what we call systemic lupus erythematosus. Is a condition whereby somebody's body is fighting itself. So, and one of the ways to go in treating such people is to put them on high level steroid, high dose steroid. So that is one of the conditions that can make it. Or somebody that is, okay, let's say in a child now, a child can be asthmatic or have what we call atopy. Atopy is a condition where somebody is highly allergic to certain substance. The high level of allergy, examples of them is asthma. The person can just, any little exposure to maybe air or something cold or dust, the person can start sneezing from now till evening. And to treat them, you have to place them on steroid, because it means the person immune system is overdoing what it's supposed to do, is overreacting to things, and to suppress it you have to go the steroid way. And when you give them the steroid for persistently for a long time, they become immunosuppressive, because their innate immunity become weak, because it has become so reliant on the steroid. Okay, the steroid will take care of me, so the body has become relaxed. And it becomes a problem. So any exposure to any infectious agent, they can come down easily compared to somebody that is not using steroid at high dose. And people should not misunderstand this. You can be on low dose steroid. For example, let's say somebody is taking prednisolone, that is 5 milligram BD, 1 tab in the morning, 1 tab in the evening. Maybe you use it for like 1 week, and the condition you are treating is already gone. You can't compare yourself to somebody that is using 60 milligram in the morning, 60 milligram at night for 3 months. There are people on that dose that they will prescribe. When they remove the tablet from the sachet, their hand will be full and they will have to swallow everything at once. Otherwise they will have problem. They won't be able to perform very well. So those are some of the risk factors. I can recap. Number 1 is when somebody is immunosuppressive. Number 2 is somebody on chemotherapy, somebody that is using steroid. Malnutrition is another thing I mentioned. Yes. So those are the risk factors that makes the level of at which somebody can contract it become very high. Okay,
you mentioned the risk factors, and it's really for parents. How do you know if someone what are the signs? How do you know if someone
that the child is having TB?
Yes, sir. And not just the child, sir. Like you said, this is contracted through contact, especially for children. Yes. So how do you know someone maybe in the community has tuberculosis so that your child does not move close to them?
Number 1 symptom. There are many symptoms of TB. What we mean by symptoms is the sign or the presentation that the patient can tell you. That is symptoms. It's different from sign.
Okay.
Symptoms is not the same thing, and they are not synonymous.
All right.
Symptoms are what patient come and tell you. It's like, I'm having temperature, my head is aching me, I'm coughing, I'm vomiting. Okay, when I cough, I see blood in my sputum. Those are the symptoms. And sign are something that when you go to the hospital, the medical practitioner examines you and pick it by him or herself.
Okay.
We have to be examined by somebody that knows before we take signs. Yes.
Okay.
So the symptoms, you come to the hospital and tell me what you are feeling. Especially somebody that is not medics. So for example now, someone like me, I will tell you both signs and symptoms of what is wrong with me because it's my job. But somebody that is not medically oriented will not be able to say those things. Now, what are the symptoms? Number one is cough. Anybody that is coughing more than 2 days should go for TB screening. Before, when I was in medical school, they used to say when you are coughing for 3 weeks. Later, it becomes when you are coughing for like a week. But now, when you are coughing for 2 days, 48 hours, you should go and do TB screening. That's number one. Number two, the person will be having recurrent, or let's say continuous high-grade fever. There are two different fever. A fever that is continuous is different from a fever that is recurrent. The fever that we have in malaria is different from the fever that somebody that is having enteric fever or tuberculosis will present with. For example, in malaria, the fever will come and go. That is why when people go to hospital, let them calm down. Let them give the right answer to the doctor or anybody that is seeing them. Because if you tell me you are having fever, I want to clap the fever, I want to ask questions around the fever. Okay, ma, is the fever comes and go? Somebody will be like, which one is fever comes and go? I say I'm having fever. But the questions has a lot to answer. Because if you tell me your fever comes and go, I'm already thinking towards that malaria side. But if it's a continuous high-grade fever, I'm thinking of highly infectious diseases like tuberculosis that we are talking about, like enteric fever, which is typhoid, that is also common in our environment because people are not taking their hygiene level seriously. All this Ebola, COVID-19, all of them, they are also, they present with high-grade fever. So we should answer questions correctly. Another symptom is drenching night sweat.
Okay.
The weather is calm. Even we on AC, but this person clothes will be like damp. We will see sweating like as if somebody is hypoglycemic. They will be sweating profusely at night. Where they are sleeping, you can see the place. It will be wet, and you will know that there is problem. That's a typical sign of tuberculosis.
Does that happen with children as well?
With anybody with TB. So that is another thing the mothers or the parents should look out for. Another thing is weight loss or failure to strive in children. Failure to strive means they refuse to grow. They are 3 years old. They are still looking like 6 months or 1.5 years. When the mates are already they've attained certain heights, she is still at a level. The child may be running around, may be doing what everybody is doing, but you know that this one is not growing well. Anybody that sees we know this one is not growing well. That is failure to strive, which is a symptoms of TB in children. Weight loss can be another sign or another symptoms, and that is common to both adults and children. A child that is already maybe one time was puffy, very big and very beautiful, and suddenly you just notice that this child was weighing 15 kg before and the child is now weighing 9 kg. That is drastic loss of weight. So you want to ask questions. And any child that is coughing, and when they cough up sputum that has blood in it, that is not normal. Normal cough, or let's even say normal respiratory tract infection cough, should not come with blood. Whenever there is blood in the sputum, you want to be 100% sure that there is no TB. Though there are some other respiratory conditions that can present with bloody sputum, but it's not as common as in tuberculosis, especially the pulmonary tuberculosis, the one that affects the lungs. So those are the signs, those are the symptoms. But in the sign, when it comes to the hospital, the doctor can pick that, okay, this person is having what we call tachypnea. That is, there is increased respiratory rate.
Okay. Because
the part of the lungs is becoming solidified. We all know the lungs, fuku. That part of the animal that is very soft, like liver, but it's not liver. So what TB does is, once it forms an inoculation in one part of it, that particular part becomes solid. Let me use the word solid, becomes very hard. Then that hardness will now continue to spread. And as it's spreading, the part that is already hard, they will lose their function. That part will lose its function. And what is the function? The function is to oxygenate, to collect oxygen from outside, mix it with blood and circulate to other part of the body for oxygenation, the brain and other part of the body that need oxygen. So, but in somebody that have TB, you can have it to the extent that more than 50% of the lungs has lost the function. And one of the ways by which they will present is to be having shallow breathing or difficulty with breathing. So they will be having, you will see them, they will be breathing laborly, or we call it labor breathing. Normally when we are breathing, there is no movement, there is no consciousness of it, but they have to, sometimes the children have to open their mouth. You will see it, that they will be breathing and they will be panting. If you ask them to run 3 meters, they can't run back because they will be exhausted, because the lungs cannot, the lung function has been lost and it's not optimal, so they will get exhausted very easily. Then when we examine them, the chest, the dullness, there will be dullness on the chest wall when we percuss on the chest. And there are many other signs that can be discussed in the hospital, but those are the things the parents should look out for. Let me recap. Cough that is lasting for more than 2 days or greater than or equal to 2 days. Cough, fever, weight loss or failure to develop in those children. Then they will have drenching night sweat. Drenching night sweat. Those are the common symptoms. But in the case of TB meningitis, that one, there will now be headache added to it. There will be neck pain added to it. There may be confusion. There may be loss of consciousness. Those are the things that will be added based on the symptoms. If it is a TB that is affecting the bowel, that is the intestine, that one may present with diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pains.
I actually think it's cholera.
Yes. Meanwhile, there are many other. That's why people should not just assume. Because all the questions, you can see the way I'm taking them systematically.
Yes.
But that is how I will ask questions when somebody comes to the hospital. Then I'm seeing the patient live. There are other things that will come to my brain seeing the patient, because I will know certain things. Observation is part of treatment. Once the patient is walking in, we already notice a lot of things, and that determines the questions I want to ask. So people should always calm down and give their attention and do not hide information from medical practitioners.
Apart from the signs and symptoms that parents can take note of, so are there vaccines against this? Like, okay, if the child has, like, so that the child does not contract the...
There is a vaccine. There is a vaccine, and that vaccine is usually given at birth, and that is called BCG. That's one of the first vaccine they will give any child at birth. So, but most people don't go for vaccine.
So some people, it's quite effective to protect the child.
It's effective to some extent. It's just like measles. Some children take measles vaccine and they still contract vaccine later in life.
But the measles,
because there are many things that also determines how effective a vaccine will be. You may collect all the vaccines and all you are collecting are just water. All you are taking is just liquid, because the vaccine has a certain temperature that they must be all through their lifespan.
So it's not just about taking
it's not just about taking the right potent vaccine and giving it the right way, the right time, by the right person. So people collecting vaccine, if you collect BCG, you are expected to be protected from tuberculosis of any form. So one of the ways to know whether BCG is effective is when they give it at the upper left arm. Before they used to give it at the forearm on the left. Some of us we have me too, I took it here. But these days it's now given on the shoulder. Yes. So when they give it, you must see the reaction. That is telling you that that vaccine is effective. Sorry, is okay. It's potent. Not effective, it's potent. Because there will be some reaction. In fact, some of them will form pus.
Yes.
That you have to squeeze out. Maybe a week later. But when they give it and there is nothing to show, there is no mark, there is nothing, you already know that that one is nothing. So, and unfortunately, I am not aware of any vaccine against tuberculosis in adults. It's not like other, like hepatitis B now, you can take it at any age. Once you are tested negative, they can vaccinate you. Like tetanus toxoid, you can take it at any age. But that tuberculosis vaccine is not given at just any age. So I think one of the reasons for that is, you know, I said people are exposed to it at any point in time. But because of their good immune system, they are not manifesting it. Now, if you now go and give such person that already have it in their system, you now give the live vaccine again, then they will start manifesting. So I guess that's the reason why we are not giving it in adults.
Okay.
Yes.
So besides vaccination, what are other treatment options available to children suffering from tuberculosis?
Vaccination is a preventive measure. It's not a treatment.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's
so true. It's a preventive measure. The treatment for TB, I will say, let me go medical now. So say you want to treat TB. Number one is you go to the hospital. They take your history. That is asking your name, your age, where you live, all those things. In fact, we ask questions to the extent that which work is the father doing, where do they live, which kind of water do they drink, how do they incinerate their waste, all those things. What type of sewage system are they using? Is it pit, is it WC, all those things we want to ask. So after that, we now go on immunization history. When we ask about immunization history, some people just want to be pissed off. But as a medical practitioner, we know how to bring people down so that you answer all my questions. Because answering those questions, they are going to help my decision at treatment. So if I know this child has not been immunized before for TB, and I check where the spot's supposed to be, I did not see it, I will just automatically assume this child was not vaccinated. So that is one point I will hold tight. Now when I get to the examination, I will examine. There are certain things I will look for in systemic examination and general examination. After that, the next thing we want to do is investigation. Because in medicine, we don't just go to treatment. You have asked questions. Sometimes your clinical assessment from history to before diagnosis may just be about 60% of what you need to know about the patient before you can treat. So what happens to the remaining 40%? And that is why any doctor cannot do without the laboratory people. They are our colleagues, they are our friends. We must work together for success. So the next thing is investigation. What are the investigations that we do to diagnose TB? Number one, I want to do chest x-ray. Okay. Because since I said majority of the TB infection manifests first affects the lungs. So we do chest x-ray. Then there is a test we call gene expert. Okay. That one, they will take the sputum of the patient. They will ask them to, anytime they cough, some will say you take the sputum early in the morning. Some will say, okay, sometimes you can give them 2 bottles. It used to be 3 bottles in the past. So I think now maybe 1 or 2 bottles is given. So you split one in the evening, split one very early in the morning, then bring the both of them to the hospital. So there are people that will collect that sample and take it to the machine that analyze it to show whether the person is positive. So now, sometimes that one may be positive and may be negative, but the chest x-ray is suspicious. There are people that are radiologists who, when they see chest x-ray, they will tell you what is wrong with the person immediately. They don't need other tests to confirm. So they will do that, and if the chest x-ray is saying it's TB, they will continue with the treatment.
So
because
it feels like the treatment is something you lead to a doctor.
Yes.
Not something you can.
No. Nobody is not. Is one of the treatments that are still restricted. Not like a malaria, typhoid that anybody on the streets can just tackle. So TB, HIV, there are still many. There are still many treatments. There are still many treatments that needs doctor, and so after that, after diagnosing, another test that can be done is mantle test, and I mentioned it earlier on that it's not done before.
Okay.
Because it used to give false positive, and the final treatment is drugs.
All right.
We have a combination of drugs, and those drugs are given free of charge. So people should not be afraid. Yes, it's given free of charge, and the combination of the drugs, it has 4 drugs inside it. We have ribampicin, isoniazid, parencypam, and ethambutol. Those are the 4 drugs. So when they give people, one of them used to change urine. When they are taking the drugs, the urine will be like, it can be like blood, and people are afraid. They don't want to take those drugs because they feel like the child is now passing out urine that is bloody, they don't want to. And in children, they will have to use the drug for 6 months.
Wow.
And if it's not, this is a very virulent one, it can even be more than 6 months. But in adults now, it's 1 year. So they will take those and they will be giving them one month. Once it's finished, you go for another dose. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Odedeji Muhammad Abiodun, for coming on the show. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the insight shared with us.
Yes,
okay, well, I hope we'll call you next time you answer a call.
Thank you. We will come.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
And you too, sir.
Ohun èlò tuntun kan ti wà fún sísè àwọn. Ṣé lóòótọ́? Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, Tasty Cubes chicken flavour ni o, tí wọ́n ṣe pẹ̀lú àwọn èròjà àbáláyé láti sọ gbogbo oúnjẹ tá a sè dàjẹ́ pọ́nnu lá. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, Tasty Cubes chicken flavour á fàdùn ara máa ń da sóúnjẹ. Mo ti gba ti Tasty Cubes chicken flavour lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. Tó bá jẹ bẹ́ẹ̀, má jáfara o, sáré lọ ra Tasty Cubes chicken flavour tiẹ̀ lónìí láti máa jẹ̀gbádùn oúnjẹ àjẹpọ́nnu lá. Tasty Cubes chicken flavour ó ń fún wa lóúnjẹ tó gbádùn. Tasty Cubes chicken flavour ó wà lọ́lọ́gọ́rùn-ún gíráàmù, ọlọ́gọ́rùn-ún mẹ́rin gíráàmù àti ọlọ́gọ́rùn-ún mẹ́fà gíráàmù. Ó tún wà níyẹ̀fun.
Good morning. Here is the news on the hour on Oluyole 98.5 FM, Ibadan. Apologies for bringing you the news behind schedule. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in New York to attend the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, which begins today. Shettima, who is representing President Bola Tinubu, will deliver Nigeria's national statement during the high-level general debates, announce the country's new nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement, and participate in a series of side events, bilateral meetings, and roundtables. The Vice President, on arrival at John F. Kennedy International Airport, was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, Minister of Defense, Badar Abubakar, and Nigeria's charge d'affaires at the permanent mission to the UN, Ambassador Samson Itegboje. Shettima will also participate in the African Union Peace and Security Council meeting and meet with the Prime Minister of Sudan, among other high-level engagements. Speaker of the House of Representatives Abbas Tajuddin has called for the establishment of parliamentary diplomacy that will provide a platform to fast-track frameworks for medical exchanges, academic recognition, joint research and targeted investments between Nigeria and Cuba. The speaker spoke yesterday while receiving a delegation from Cuba led by Fernando Gonzalez Lort, member of the National Assembly of the People's Power of Cuba, ANPP, on a courtesy visit. He stressed the need for such parliamentary diplomacy to yield tangible outputs that will lead to the signing of memorandums of understanding, ratified agreements and funded programs, represented by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu. The Speaker lauded the diplomatic ties between both countries, calling for the deepening of the bilateral relations. Meanwhile, the House will today hold a national public hearing on the proposed amendment to the 1999 Constitution in Abuja. That's news in the hour. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the Yoruba version of the news.
ẹ káàárọ̀ ìròyìn ìyálẹ̀ta igbákejì ààrẹ ilẹ̀ yìí Kashim Shettima ti gúnlẹ̀ sí New York láti bá wọn kópa nínú ìpàdé àpérò àjọṣepọ̀ àgbáyé ọgọ́rin rẹ̀ èyí tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ lónìí. Shettima tó ń ṣojú fún ààrẹ Bọ́lá Tinubu ni yóò fi ṣe orílẹ̀-èdè yìí jẹ́ níbi ìpàdé àpérò náà. Ní kété tí igbákejì ààrẹ gúnlẹ̀ sí pápákọ̀ òfurufú F. Kennedy International Airport ní mínísítà tó wà fọ́rọ̀ ilẹ̀ òkèèrè Ambassador Yusuf Toga, mínísítà fún àpapọ̀ iléeṣẹ́ aláàbò ilẹ̀ wa Badaru Abubakar àti aṣojú ilẹ̀ wa Nàìjíríà nínú àjọ UN Ambassador Samson Ìtẹ́gbọ̀jẹ̀ wá kí káàbọ̀. Bákan náà ni Shettima yóò bá wọn kópa nínú ìpàdé àlàáfíà ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀ tí yóò sì tún ṣe ìpàdé pẹ̀lú olóòtú ìjọba ilẹ̀ Sudan àtàwọn iṣẹ́ mìíràn tó bá wà ní iwájú rẹ̀. Olórí ilé aṣojú-ṣòfin ilẹ̀ yìí Abbas Tajudeen ti dábàá ṣíṣe àgbékalẹ̀ ètò tí yóò tètè mú ìgbéga bá ẹ̀ka ètò ìlera, ètò ẹ̀kọ́, iṣẹ́ ìwádìí tó fi mọ́ àjọṣepọ̀ òkòwò láàrin orílẹ̀-èdè yìí àti Cuba. Olórí ilé sọ̀rọ̀ yìí lánàá lásìkò tó ń gbàlejò aṣojú láti orílẹ̀-èdè Cuba ti Fernando González tó jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn ọmọ ilé aṣòfin àpapọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú People's Power of Cuba. Léwájú tó ṣe àbẹ̀wò sọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀, ó mẹ́nuba pàtàkì ìpàdé àpérò yìí èyí tí ó fàyè gbà fọwọ́ sí ìwé àdéhùn àti gbọ́ àwọn bùkátà tó yẹ. Olórí ilé ti igbákejì olórí ilé aṣojú-ṣòfin náà Benjamin Kalu ṣojú fún ó mọrírì àjọṣepọ̀ tó wà láàrin àwọn orílẹ̀-èdè méjèèjì tó sì tún dábàá kí wọ́n tún túbọ̀ sókun rẹ̀ ní dandan sí i. Ẹ̀wẹ̀ lónìí ni ilé yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ gbígbọ́ èrò àwọn aráàlú lórí àbá àtúnṣe òfin ilẹ̀ wa tọdún 1999 nílùú Àbújá. Èyí lópin ìròyìn ìyálẹ̀ta wa fún ti àárọ̀ òní. Ẹ máa yáṣẹ́.
Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Fiesta right here on Oluyole 98.5 FM. Of course, we just listened to the news at 11, news on the hour. Yeah, we are done. We're talking about tuberculosis in children. Now it's time to move on to the second part of our conversation, which will be focused on eating healthy, especially considering the current weather. Once our guest is in the studio, we'll get right to it. Stay tuned. It's still Breakfast Fiesta, right here on Oluyole 98.4 FM. We've just been informed that our guest is still on the way, so we'll go on. When he gets here, he'll join us. We're talking about eating healthy, especially considering the current weather. When we came on the show, Miriam, we were talking about the fact that during this particular time, we go to bed and you find out that maybe in the evening, everything is cool. But during the night, it turns cold. And you have to get up to switch off the fan and do all that just to make sure you keep warm. Now, every season comes with its, should I say, downsides.
Yes.
You know, when someone will say, okay, I don't like rain, the rainy season. I love the dry season. But when you talk about dry season, you have pollens, okay?
Yes.
You talk about a lot of allergies. Okay, people talk about nasal discomfort. That's when you have a whole lot of dust. Then catarrh. You have common cold.
Even feeling sweaty.
Yes, it's one of the downsides.
It's one of the downsides of.
But when we talk about the wet season, okay, well, I should ask you, which one do you prefer, wet or dry season?
I love the rainy season.
Oh boy.
I love the rainy season because getting sweaty during the during the dry season, it's very uncomfortable.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
And during the rainy season, there's remedies. You can have hot coffee, you can have a blanket, wear your sweater, and all of that.
Okay, I think I agree with you. That's manageable, but heat once it's there, it's very much discomforting.
No amount of fresh air, you still feel that sweaty. You still feel sweaty. You still have some, even the rashes. There's this kind of rash that comes with the dry season.
And also, I think this is also a problem we have here because. Power is a problem.
Exactly.
So where there is power, at least, although some people would say, well, even when you have the fan in the house, you will still experience it because the fan itself will blow heat. So, and if that's a problem, it's okay, what about AC? Not everyone can afford that.
And also, even the rechargeable fans that you buy, they are not as effective as the electric fans.
True.
They do not blow as effective.
Although some of those come with this chamber in which you pour water, and the water kind of cools the fan, and the air coming out kind of feels like, okay, well, if you have this feeling like, okay, I'm in front of maybe I should say semi-AC.
Anyway, that's still better.
Yeah, it is. So when I talk about eating healthy, during the rainy season, what is the only thing that comes to my head right now is coffee, or tea in the morning. Not necessarily coffee. Coffee is a diet for those people who are high-powered people who work a lot. Okay.
I think what comes to my head when I think of eating healthy is, there's high humidity during this season. It's too many airborne diseases, like especially malaria, because of the stagnant waters. It starts to breed malaria. So I think eating healthy should be about foods that boost our immunity.
Okay. Wouldn't that be all round the year? Eat foods that boost your immunity even during
especially during the rainy season. Because the
exposed
to a lot. It's the rainy season, everything is wet, and that comes with a lot of infections.
Talking about stagnant water, kids love to play, muddy places. And they like what we call abasha. But the reality is they're kids. I mean, when we're little, we enjoyed running into the rain. I'm just throwing around. So when it comes to eating healthy, but besides taking something warm, like you said, fruits should come on the table. I know mentioning that right now, people are like, okay, you know what they cost right now in the market. But yeah, it's a real. Sometimes when you think about fruits, we tend to think, okay, I have to get these and get that and get this one and get that one. Well, the reality is this. You may not be able to get everything, but eat what is in season. Okay, what is in season usually costs less than the ones you have to go about, searching for. So whatever is in season, take that. I tell people there is a reason. There is a particular fruit for a particular time.
Yes.
So when that fruit is available, go for it. It supplies you something. Okay, then when the others come, switch. I mean, my personal opinion, but then I'll leave the rest to our guest, who is now entering into the studio. I'm talking about Dr. Abdusalami Ahmad Olayinka. He's Assistant Director, Dietetics Department, UCH, Ibadan. Thank you so much for coming. It's our pleasure to have you.
Yes, it's a pleasure, yeah. Thank you
for coming. Okay, so we've been having this banter before you came in. In Nigeria, we have just 2 seasons. Dry and the wet. Okay, now is the wet season. So when we talk about the wet season, there are some things that are quite peculiar to the wet season. I was talking about dry season. We said, okay, then you have a lot of pollens being released, and then there is a lot of dust, and so there are peculiar things there. So, but for the the wet season, what are the food? What should our eating habits be during the wet season, such that we can be protected?
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Because every opportunity to enlighten the public, I always see it as a beautiful opportunity for everybody, including myself.
Thank you.
So, going straight to the question, when we look at the season we are in, we are blessed with a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, and the likes. Even though I want to speak about doing our own gardening, putting fruits and planting hybrid so that we can get it ourselves. Well, if you can't do that, we go to the nearest fruit market, so you can get it in bulk and make sure that everybody in the household have enough for that season. So every fruit available for each season is what is meant for us. Don't go and be searching for what is not available or looking for something exotic. So whatever is available is what we should go for. And I can assure you, no one single fruit has the essential nutrient that our body needs. So it is a situation of mixing them. And the more the variety, the better the nutrient constituent. So that's just it. Once it's in the season, eat. And if it is off season, the one that are available, especially now we have watermelon in off-season period. People are now going to irrigation farming in order to produce these things. Good. And some dry fruits, just at dates, are also very good. I can assure you, 100 grams of that will give you up to 2.2 grams of protein. So you look at if the fruit is getting dry, you get some nutrients more in them. And that is why some people, if you say you have issue with protein absorption or something, you say, okay, don't go for the dry type because it has more of that protein. So you go for the one that are wet. We still have them. So that's just it. I get it when it's in season.
Okay, during the rainy season, there's this trend. I don't know if we notice it, like water. Sometimes water is not as clean as sometimes you don't have clean water, especially for now in homes you can sanitize, you can do all of that, but then for street foods that you don't know what kind of water they're using, and this is rainy season.
Okay,
so how can we eat healthy?
Thank you. All right, so the best example is for food, not only fruits, food that are cooked and sold around, like the maize at least is around now. I can assist it around our communities. You see, I will advise that you get the raw and cook. But for fruits, people wash and cut. Don't get the cut ones. Try as much as possible because it's better to prevent any infection occurrence rather than inviting it and start looking for antibiotics that are very expensive. I can assure you of that. So especially when we are still battling with how to feed ourselves. So now coping with antibiotics and going in and out of health facility will cost more. So try and buy the whole, and probably if you know you cannot afford that, go for those ones that are whole in terms of oranges, banana, other ones that are old that you can actually lay your hands on.
A lot of people complain about funds when it comes to eating healthy. They eat fruits, vegetables, and I tell you they are expensive, I can't afford it. So for such people, can they combine? You rightly said that the fruits in season may not contain all the nutrients you need. So if you have the ones in season, can you combine that with supplements to make up for what you need? Okay,
what I mean by not sufficient in nutrients is, I say no one fruit is sufficient in all the nutrients we need, especially the vitamins that are embedded in fruits. So it's better to try varieties. If you take watermelon, you take orange, you take what's it called now, banana. All of them, they have their different nutrient constituents, but they don't stay in us, and that is why we have to eat fruit every day. Mind you, for me and for you and every other person, let me tell you that fruits is deliberate. You are supposed to be deliberate about eating fruits. You have to plan and include it in your meal. It's expensive because you are not putting it into plan. If you plan, you know that supplement you are targeting, you get sufficient of it from your fruits if you eat every day.
Okay.
Because not only that vitamins that we are targeting or minerals, it also has sufficient amount of fiber that will support digestion, absorption, utilization, and excretion, whereby it will, most of the supplement will not give you that. But I can assure you, most of the supplements are sold for monetary purpose. They are actually increasing their funds. They are not about only your health alone. But if you want to get the best, please plan within what you have in your community. Thank you.
Contamination is usually a problem when you talk about fruits, because we know they're perishable goods and products, and as a result, if you don't handle them well, they can easily get contaminated. So what would be the best way to handle fruits?
All right, thank you very much. So now, what I do, let me give you a practical example. What I do is I go to the fruit market every Sunday morning before 7 a.m.
Okay.
As it's coming directly from the farm, I buy. I collaborate with the the
traders,
the wholesalers, and or let me say the retailers. We buy and we share. That way, the handling is reduced, and I will get it cheaper, and I will get it more, in quantity. So that way, it will reduce hands to hand, probably infection transmission and the rest. So that is one way we can do it. And those people bringing it from the farm even love it that way, because it will reduce the stresses of bringing it and putting it down, and people still coming and buying it in a bit. So that is one thing I do. And sometimes if I have the opportunity to move out of our domain, I can actually use the local markets around probably outside the battle. So I get it and I make sure I store, because fruit is something, like I always tell everybody, you have to be deliberate, because we are not trained to include it in our daily meal, and it's actually affected. That is why you hear the word expensive.
Okay, so how do you store them? Because besides refrigeration, like people say, okay, I don't have a fridge in my house, how do I refrigerate? How do I keep it?
Okay, so it's not easy to store most fruits, especially something like banana. You cannot store orange, you cannot store watermelon. But what you can do is to make sure that when it's in season, you eat it abundantly. Other ones that are coming in other seasons, like the dry fruit, like I said. So like I said, if you eat abundantly now, you get the necessary value for it now. So it will remain that whatever you eat now, and you take a little from when it is off season, it will not drastically affect your health like you don't eat it at all, especially now. But like I said earlier when I started, the major way to stem all this problem is to plant at least 2 varieties of fruits, so that you can also have it at hand.
Talking of storage as well, sir, you know, this is the season of high humidity, like when you're storing even food items.
You get spoiled easily.
Exactly. So in terms of eating healthy, how can we ensure that we are eating, like what we are eating is actually good enough, like it's good? For like beans now, it starts growing mold during the high humidity. How do we ensure that people are eating the right thing?
Okay, so me, if you come to my house, I don't have refrigerator, and everybody look at you are not in the 21st century, you are too backward. I don't like refrigerated food personally.
Okay.
So the moment you put it in the fridge,
any health reason for that?
Me, it changes tastes for me, and no matter whatever you are putting there, it has its effect, no matter how little it is. So I'm always very conscious. So I take time. And my family member will say, we cannot go to market every time, this and that. I say, no problem, put it on me. I will do that. Because I know what I am looking for. So, and I know the locals, the local people that are bringing it directly from the farm. I go to them and I buy wholesomely. So the abrasion, the wear and tear the fruit will, or the vegetable have gone through would not have done that. So I just directly buy from them early in the morning. And make sure I put it in my car as I'm going home back from work. I deliver to them safely. So it's better to get it fresh. It might not be easy, but it is the best.
It seems you're focusing maybe eating healthy during the season on fruits.
Yes.
Right, so that's the key.
Yes, fruits. Yes, fruits. Especially when you look at this season now, everybody's coming down with congested nasal cavity, this and that. So fruit take care of most of those things.
So how good are teas in the morning?
Tea. Oh, beautiful. So we have healthy ones. Like when I was growing up, my dad would do this lemon tea thing and different leaves. Sometimes they just boil different leaves around the. So I look at it and say, this thing. When I was growing up, I say, my dad is local. But you realize that is the original green tea that we are talking about, without any mixture, and it's so natural. And you can grow anywhere, even behind your house, at your window. Just grow it and cut. And know what beautiful thing, you can even dry inside your house and keep and make tea out of it.
So you prefer brews to buying off the shelf?
It's the best, my brother. And if you must buy, go for pure green tea. No mixture, this and that, advertising, other things included. No, buy pure. And if you know you are going for other beverages, know that this is what I'm going for. But for me, I prefer that. And since I'm not diabetic, I can still have my honey and enjoy it. And it's always very nice.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdusalami Hamad Olayinka, for coming on the show. We appreciate you.
It's my pleasure.
We'd love to talk more, but our time is against us.
It's a pleasure. Anytime. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, he is the Assistant Director, Dietetics, from the Dietetics Department, University College Hospital, Ibadan. And we're talking about eating healthy, especially considering the current season. It's been Breakfast Fiesta right here on Oluyole 98.5 FM. I remain Idowu Shekuni. Many thanks for joining us. Of course, I'm saying bye-bye on behalf of Kenny, who has been behind the console. The engineering officer has been Shoaib Busari.
And Mariam Rhino Akiola.
Of course, see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
And entertainment, we got everything you need and so much more. Yeah. 98.5 FM, Oluyole. 98.5 FM. Hear me now. You're down to the #1 station. Educative and quality information. Brighten up your day in so many ways. Tune to 98.5 Oluyole. 98.5 FM. 98.5 FM. Oluyole. 98.5 FM. 98.5 FM. Oshimiburu. Yeah. Kilewu.
àmì òjijì.
rédíò tí ó láfiwé Olúyọ̀lé FM àwa ni bàbá.
ìdúró rẹ lójoojúmọ́ èmi ò lè ṣe kí mi máa gbọ́.
Olúyọ̀lé FM ń bàbá orin tìlú. àṣà èdè àṣà tèdè ìmọ̀ràn
ẹ̀fẹ̀ ìmọ̀ràn.
ìròyìn lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́. olókìtì bí ọkọ bá kò sí ní gbò.
Olúyọ̀lé FM 90.5 ìdùnnú rẹ ni lójoojúmọ́.
ẹṣin ṣeun tẹ́ ń gbọ́ wa ní ìkànnì Olúyọ̀lé 90.5 FM tó kalẹ̀ sí ìlú Ìbàdàn ní báyìí tí aago mọ́kànlá àbọ̀ ti lù ó ń gbẹ́ yágíyágí ní ètò tí ó máa gorí ọpọ́n báyìí KOB ti wà ń kalẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbọ́.
kì í pẹ́ mọ́ adé fúlà ń tètè ọjọ́ tó ń ṣe ìgbéyàwó tó ń ṣe wẹ́dẹ̀ náà ló